So, thank you again. And thank you to Zen Sensei, my friend, my Dharma sister, my mentor. So good to be here. And you guys have been playing host a little bit, and it's really warm and really special. I'm really happy to be here. Gonna kind of do something a little different. We talked about it at dinner briefly. The idea that some of you may have some questions. I have some questions. And if you like, maybe you have a question already and you'd like to tell me, or there's something you're practicing with right now, and you'd like to tell me about that. And I can maybe try and keep that in mind and maybe kind of weave it in to what I'm talking about. Does anybody have anything that they're practicing with, that they're considering? Any questions? Carla?
I'm practicing with if true nature is here, present, and I am it, it is all. How can I relax into that and stay taut enough to not get lost in the thought?
Thank you. Anybody else have a question? Yeah. And can you please also tell me your name? Because I don't. What's your question?
I'm reading a book by Pema Chodron called How We Live is How We Die. And she talks about the importance of frame of mind and how important it is when we die to have a peaceful frame of mind. And I was wondering what your thoughts are about that, or you can weave that in possibly.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Anyone else? Anybody else have something?
Looking at death in very practical ways, the actual arrangements, of death and dying, burial, or cremation, those kinds of questions necessary now with my husband, and so making plans. So we have a new grandbaby, and so we have birth death, which is kinshi. What is the combo birth death? I remember the term. Okay. So just similar to what you mentioned, how do we live with death close?
Yeah, I have a little kind of a talk prepared for tonight, and maybe some of these questions can come up, and maybe we can talk about it a little bit after at the end too. We'll save some extra time for Q&A. And this is actually a talk that you've heard and you've heard. This is a talk that we thought would be good to give here as well, and also give us an opportunity to record it. So I'd like to tell you a story. In China, in the beginning of the golden age of Zen, so we're talking about sometime in the 700s, there's a monk named Baso Doitsu. And he was practicing at Faiyuan Temple, which is still there. You can visit it. And Baso was practicing there when he met his teacher, Nangaku Ejo. Nangaku Ejo was already a pretty accomplished monk, whatever that means. But he had a certain eye, and he could see that Baso would make a good student. He was watching this young monk practicing quite earnestly. And one day outside of the Zendo, I pictured maybe sitting in a courtyard like this. Master Ejo walks by and he sees Baso sitting really strong. And he says, "Venerable monk, what are you trying to accomplish by sitting zazen?" Right? What a question. What are you trying to accomplish by sitting zazen? And Baso said, "I aim to become a Buddha." So Master Ejo picked up a roofing tile from the ground in the courtyard, and he started to polish it. This is while Baso looks on. You can picture him almost like sitting, this young man sitting really strong zazen, and like this little play is being kind of enacted for him. And finally, Baso says, "Why are you polishing a roof tile?" Master Ejo said, "I'm polishing it to make it a mirror. Make it a mirror." And Baso said, "You can't turn a roof tile into a mirror by polishing it." And Master Ejo said, "Just as polishing a roofing tile won't ever make it a mirror, sitting zazen won't make you a Buddha." Wow, okay, there's that. But what's really interesting is when I was looking at this story, most people kind of stop there. It's the end of that. But there's a few more lines to this case. And it goes on and it says, Master Ejo says, "Just as polishing a roofing tile won't ever make it a mirror, sitting zazen won't make you a Buddha." And Baso then asks, "How should I proceed then?" Right? Master Ejo said, "If you hitch an ox to a cart and the cart doesn't move, do you whip the cart or the ox?" And it said, at this, Baso was struck wordless. So Baso clearly understands that polishing a roofing tile will never make it a mirror. But he still is operating under this kind of idea that this false belief that he can kind of grind himself into a Buddha. He's going to work it all out on the cushion like that. And while we can admire his energy and his focus, like we need strong practice, you know? It's obvious that he's missing the mark. And I can't help but think of my own practice. You know, how many times I just really kind of beat myself up on the cushion and in my life. Yeah. So I think it's an energy we can relate with. It's something that we can understand. And it's part of all of our practice in some way, some shape, some form. And so Master Ejo sees this monk, and sees his determination, and sees perhaps even his potential. And he felt maybe, hey, this would be a shame to let all that energy and potential kind of go to waste, get all screwed up on a cushion like that. This is what we call arousing the aspiration of enlightenment. This is what Dogen called arousing the aspiration of enlightenment. And so Ejo, in his compassion, he sets up this little farce in the courtyard. And he's like, hey, you're lost in the weeds. Oh, look, some discarded broken thing. Oh, it's like very natural. I'm just going to sit here. I'm going to rub it with my sleeve for a while. And I'm going to see if this monk can pick up the trail again. Just leaving little breadcrumbs. And perhaps sensing the strong resolve, the strong practice in this younger monk. Baso Doitsu. Baso is usually called by his original Chinese name. He's a Chinese monk. He's known as Master of Ma, Great Master Ma, or Mazu. But this was before he was Master Ma. As a matter of fact, it's really interesting, is because Master Ejo was his preceptor. He's the one that was his main teacher. And it seems that maybe this koan, this little teaching story, is about their first time meeting. It was really nice. I would love to have our words written on the first time we glanced off each other. And so his name, Baso Doitsu, is translates roughly to, his Dharma name translates roughly to ancestor horse, one path. So I picture this strong energy, this horse, this strong steed, that clarity in that direction. And Ejo comes along and lets him know, you're a little off. So how's his aim off? His aim is off because no amount of sitting is going to make you a Buddha. No amount of polishing will turn terracotta into a mirror. And thinking that it's the tile's fault isn't going to change anything about that situation. But if that's what you need to do, then go ahead, polish. Polish to your heart's content. It's okay. But if you come, Santa Barbara Zen Center, or you join us at Jikoji, and you say, I'm going to sit 1,000 session, I'm not going to miss a period of Zazen in the next 10 years, I'm going to, okay. And you still don't become a Buddha? Blaming yourself isn't going to change anything about that situation either. I think we all somehow start with this idea that Zazen practice leads to Buddhahood, or leads to enlightenment, or leads to the cessation of suffering, or whatever you want to call it. Maybe it's the end of my suffering is just a few more of these butt-busting, knee-breaking sessions away. Like maybe it's just over the horizon, A few more of these sleep-deprived circuses we put ourselves through. But Zazen doesn't lead to awakening. Zazen is the expression of our awakening. So as the story continues, Master Ejo adds another little blow. What compassion? Master Ejo asks, what do you whip? The cart or the ox? If you new guy, if you hitch your ox to a cart and it doesn't go, you whip the cart, nothing happens, right? If you hitch your ox to a rooftop, if you hitch your ox to Master Ejo, if you hitch your ox to that huge, beautiful tree outside the Santa Barbara Amtrak station, if you hitch your ox to Buddhahood, what happens? So Master Ejo holds nothing back in his generosity. He says, hey, maybe whipping the cart is the same as your zazen. He's saying, it's your mind. It's the ox, it's not the cart. Besides, you can't use zazen like that. You can't use zazen. You can't use zazen. Zazen can use zazen. So, get out of the way. Let zazen sit zazen. And so, Pema Chodron said, already maybe we can answer some of these questions. I think we're reading the same books anyway. Pema Chodron said, meditation practice isn't about trying to throw ourselves away and become something better. It's about befriending who we already are. Or as the jazz musician Thelonious Monk said, a genius is the one who is most like himself or himself. So, if you're sitting there and you're thinking, okay, well then, whip the ox, right? That's what you're saying, right? Whip the ox. Well, what you're expressing with whip the ox is actually just our habit of separating, the whole source of our suffering. It just further perpetuates the dualism and is not the point of the story. For the point of the story, we have to look with a different eye. We have to look the way that Master Ejo looked at young Master Ma, at little Baso. Said, And so by leaning in to that perceived separateness like that, it's not taking you any nearer to that which you seek. And by the way, don't seek. Trust it. Trust it instead. Trust it because as the ox moves, so does the cart. It's practice enlightenment. It's practice enlightenment. It's ox and cart. Just like how the ox and cart moves, so does our body, mind. Just like how the ox is well suited for this work, and the cart was made for this, so too is your body made to sit zazen. And so too is our mind made for awakening. And your zazen is one of the functions of your awakening. It's not a product. It's your enlightenment already, if you will. Buddha's already here. It's already here. And by sitting to attain that awakening, to attain the Buddha, you're just in the courtyard. You've already got it. It's like Jack Kerouac said, equally empty, equally to be loved, equally a coming Buddha. Equally empty, equally to be loved, equally a coming Buddha. Have any of you heard that quote before? Some of the older Zen practitioners are hip to the Dharma bomb stuff, and I like the beats. I wanted to track down the source of that quote, and it's from a longer passage, and it says, I sit down and I say, and I run all my friends, my relatives, my enemies one by one in this, without entertaining any angers or gratitudes or anything. And I say, like Jaffe Ryder, equally empty, equally beloved, equally a coming Buddha. Then I run on and I say, David O. Selznick, equally empty, equally to be loved, equally a coming Buddha. Though I don't use names like David O. Selznick, just people I know. Because when I say the words equally a coming Buddha, I want to think of their eyes. Like you take Morley, his blue eyes behind those glasses. When you think equally a coming Buddha, you think of those eyes and you really do suddenly see the true secret serenity and the truth of his coming Buddhahood. Then you think of your enemy's eyes. So if you're focusing on becoming a Buddha, what happens? You miss the Buddha where you are. You miss the Buddhas all around you. I was getting on the train, the Amtrak train, to come down from San Jose, from Jikoji, to come down here. And I very nearly missed my train. You're in a strange city, a strange town. Don't know where you are, don't know what you're doing. Trying to make sense of the one working board. What does that say? Which way is track 11? There's only 4 tracks. How does that make sense? You know, it's just like all of this stuff. And I'm lost. I'm in the weeds. Finally running around, and I see this man, taller than Carlin, so I had to see him. And everybody's bringing him tickets. I said, oh no, you go over there, you line up here, you do this, you do this, you do this. I said, that's the guy. There's my Buddha. I can just go get my. So I'll hold out my ticket, you know. Please, sir. And he lines me up and tells me what to do. And then when the train comes, you go in here, you go on this. And I realize I'm talking to an autistic man, a man on the spectrum. And he doesn't work here. He's a rail fan. He's a train fan. And so he's just helping. And so he's helping and he's giving me all the information I need. And then you're going to go left, and then you're going to do this, and then you go on. And then you go up the stairs and you sit up on top. You want to sit on the left side of the train so you can see the water. You want to, all this thing. And then he goes, excuse me, you can't smoke here. And he runs off to go do something else. Okay. And it's just like, it's all here. It's all here. Yeah. Equally empty, equally to be loved, equally a common Buddha. And that's it. We have to see the Buddha in those around us. We have to see the Buddha in ourselves. Or at least to see the equally empty part, the equally to be loved part. And as soon as you create this posture, there it is. As soon as you create it, the Buddha has been revealed. Yeah. Lara Buddha, Karlan Buddha, the Tova Buddha, Nenzan Buddha, Michael Buddha, New Guy Buddha. Another Pema Chodron quote. Holding on to beliefs limits our experience of life. That doesn't mean that beliefs or opinions or ideas are a problem. It's the stubborn attitude of having to have things be a particular way, grasping onto our beliefs and opinions, that causes the problems. Using your belief system in this way creates a situation in which you choose to be blind instead of being able to see, to be deaf instead of being able to hear, to be dead rather than alive, asleep rather than awake. As people who want to live a good, full, unrestricted, adventurous, real kind of life, there is a concrete instruction that we can follow. See what is. See what is. Without calling your belief right or wrong, acknowledge it, see it clearly, without judgment, and let it go. Come back to the present moment. From now until the moment of your death, you could do this. How can we just see what's happening and be fully intimate and present with that moment, with that person, with nothing else, with nothing extra. And then watch how all the details start to kind of just take care of themselves. Here's my ticket. I don't know where to go. I don't know what to do. I'm gonna miss my train. You just go here. Oh, I know. Don't smoke. Go. I know. It's all here. So our path isn't about becoming something else. It's rather about unbecoming what truly isn't us. What isn't truly ourselves, so that we can truly be free. When we've released that, when we've released all that criteria. So you don't whip yourself. You don't whip yourself. I'm not enough. I'm not that. I'm not the right kind of Buddha. This kind of Buddha isn't needed. Each Buddha is needed. All the Buddhas are needed. And each needs to hold its own Dharma position. And what if, instead of whipping the ox, we tried to guide it? I know my ox sometimes lets me ride in the cart, sometimes lets me ride on his back. Sometimes I get down and I walk this ox around. Sometimes I have to pull it by the ring through its nose. What a friend have on this path, this ox. Yeah? So I wanted to tell another little story because we just kind of came out of Tanjo-e session, which is the session that one of these 4 traditional session that Kobun helped establish at Jikoji. And Tanjo-e, Tanjo means birthday. So this is Buddha's birthday session, a big birthday party. And we culminated with this Buddha's birthday celebration, I guess, a couple of weeks ago. And, we offered flowers and we ladled sweet tea over the Buddha statue. And it was just a very tender, lovely little ceremony. And every year around this kind of Tanjo time, I read a lot of Jataka tales, which are the tales of Buddha before he was Buddha, the tales of the path lives of Buddha. And there's some of them are really, like one of them, once the Buddha was a monkey. It's actually the name of one of the Jataka tale books, one of the modern translations. Once the Buddha was a monkey. So I'll read you this story, and it says, once upon a time in Gandhara, in an old kingdom, in what is today northern India and Pakistan, there was a place called Takasila. In that place, the enlightenment being was born as a calf. He was an excellent and strong calf, and he was bought by a wealthy landowner who became very fond of this gentle and noble ox, and he named him Delightful. It was a very special, it was a very good name. Named him Delightful, and he took excellent care of him. He gave him only the best feed, gave him a lovely place to live. And when Delightful grew into a big, strong ox, he thought, this generous man has given me everything an animal could want: good care, plenty of food, water, and because of this, I'm incredibly strong, and I can pull the heaviest loads. I would like to repay my master by using my strength to benefit him. And so one day, Delightful said to his master, find a wealthy merchant. I love this, it's got a talking ox. This is great. So Delightful said to his master, find a wealthy merchant in town who has the strongest oxen and challenge him, saying, your ox can pull 100 carts. So the master found a merchant down in town who was boasting to have strong oxen, some of the strongest oxen in the land. So he said, I'll challenge you. I have an ox that can pull 100 carts. There's no ox stronger. And the merchant said, there's no ox that strong. I will bet you 1,000 gold that he cannot. So they set a challenge with the merchant setting up 100 carts. And he decided to load them with rocks to make them especially heavy and challenging. The master, in preparing the ox for the challenge, bathed him and fed him the finest grains. He strung a beautiful garland of flowers around Delightful's neck. The master then led Delightful down to town where the 100 carts were waiting. Seeing the merchant and the assembled crowd, the master couldn't resist, making himself seem important. So he yoked the ox and started to whip at Delightful. Pull, you dumb beast, pull! I, your master, command you, he said while whipping the air above the ox. Delightful thought, this challenge was my idea, and I have never even disobeyed my master, yet how he beats me and insults me. So Delightful stayed in place. He wouldn't budge, and the master lost the challenge and the 1,000 gold coins. But more than that, it was the blow to his pride. He went home sulking. Back home, Delightful grazed peacefully, and the master, distraught, said, Delightful, how could you do this to me? And now you're grazing so peacefully after I was so badly embarrassed in town. Delightful said, you call me a dumb animal and insult me in front of everyone. In my whole life, have I ever stepped on you or broken anything? No. Made a mess where I shouldn't? I behaved like a dumb animal. No, Delightful. No, you haven't, my beloved pet. He said, then why crack the whip above my head? Why call me dumb? The master acquiesced, and so Delightful said, find the merchant, challenge him again. And this time, 2,000 gold coins. And again, they found the merchant, and of course he accepted, thinking, easy money. And so the master bathed and fed Delightful and brought him to town in front of the assembled 100 carts. And this time, the master gave up the whip, picked up a lotus blossom, and touched it to the forehead of Delightful. He looked fondly to the ox and said, as if he were his own child, and said, Delightful, my son, will you do me the honor of pulling 100 carts? Much to everyone's surprise, Delightful pulled the heavy carts until the last one stood in the place of the first. The merchant was shocked and paid the 2,000 gold coins. And the assembled onlookers further showered the master and Delightful with gifts. And more than his winnings, the master gained humility and respect. What a charming and delightful story. And while this Jataka tale traditionally is used as a kind of like morality play, Aesop's fables kind of thing, its theme is usually used in like respect brings honor. And it's a very cultural thing, but perhaps you'll also see what I saw in this story, which is that there's something there for us in the way that we work with our own minds. If we want to keep following this metaphor of ox and cart that way. And I think that's what we're here to do. I think we're here to kind of work on ourselves in that way and kind of put down the whip. And remember. All I have to do is remember. Just before the session, a couple of the residents and teachers were sitting around at the table, and we were talking at the breakfast table or something about all of our kind of favorite ways to talk about enlightenment. And none of us like talking about it. And none of us like using the word. And so instead of attain Buddhahood, somebody was reminding us how Kobun would say, return to Buddha. Just say return to Buddha instead of attaining the great way. Return. And Pamela Sensei said, recollect. To recollect, to recollect our Buddhahood. Gather ourselves back up. Just gather yourself back up. And there moves the cart and there moves the ox. And when those thoughts arise and we find ourselves getting stuck in our story, it's just like, oh, it's okay. That was just a moment where I forgot who I truly was. I can now recollect. I can now recollect and come back and return. Return to Buddha. So I'm really looking forward to practicing with it and returning to Buddha and recollecting our Buddhahood. And so on I guess the last thing I'll say is just sit. Just sit. Just show up as you are. Not the one you think you are. The real you. The equally empty, equally the beloved, equally a coming Buddha you. Thank you for your attention. So we have a little time for some more questions. Sensei? Yeah.
Thinking about the light bulb.
Can you say that again?
I'm thinking about
Thinking about,
the light bulb.
yeah. I think she's thinking about the light bulb. Do you still like that?
Yeah.
You still like that?
It's the light.
That's
That's the light bulb.
Yeah. Put it there. Put down the will. It's the acquiescent mind that realizes itself, as we say. It's surely something I could buy, or I could change, or I could flop off. That would do it. Yeah. I ran around and I tried all those things. That's all that sensei means, in Japanese. It means one who's gone before. I've made those mistakes. Listen to me. So yes, do you have any questions or comments? Yeah.
I'm just trying to think of what acquiescent means. I need a definition.
Mm.
You said acquiescent mind.
Yeah. Just putting down the whip.
So it's the accepting mind,
I think there's a quality of acceptance that's in it for sure. But I think there's a quality of kind of releasing. The problem is that I've done this before, so you don't have to do this anymore, right? Is that we think letting go looks like this. But letting go actually looks like this. There's still death, there's still pain, there's still confusion. Sometimes it goes. And sometimes it comes. Not doing this anymore. We were talking about this. All the negativity that we use. And when you release it, and you don't need to use it anymore, all of this energy gets freed up for other great things. And when you're not whipping, it's a little bit easier. It's a little bit easier. And the ox isn't so grumpy. So, to acquiesce is in all, I think it actually comes more from like the Taoist side almost of our practice, or maybe it was a Chan, like a Chinese side of the story. This teacher had a student who was working really hard, and kind of maybe like Baso, kind of like our great master Ma, and said, I have a teaching for you. I want you to go down to the river, and I want you to pick up mud, and I want you to rub it and polish it and make a mud ball, perfect sphere. And you place it on the banks of the river. I want you to do that until you get 100 perfect mud balls. It's a lot of work. Polishing. Huh? Sets them all up, and then he goes to his teacher and says, I've done it. Teacher's good. Now, one by one, put each one of them into the river to dissolve. That's not this. That's not this. That's hanging on. That's gripping for dear life. But if it could be this, okay. But Ōshin, he's taking advantage of it. What about all my preciousness and all of this? Show me. Show me the one he's taking advantage of. Show me the one. Where is it? I can't find him anywhere. Yeah. There's something very nice about dissolve. I think I'd be happier to dissolve than to make mud balls. But that's where I have to acquiesce, right? There's another great, I think from that same collection, it was a more modern story where the teacher said to a student, who wanted to know But these qualities of mind, how do I practice this? The teacher said, mind like sieve. That's really unappetizing. What does that mean? What does that mean? And the student tried to practice this. How to hold on to these things, how to work with things when they say, I can't. And the teacher says, give me that sieve, and chucks it into the river, and it goes, mind like sieve. Dissolve, dissolve. It's the same story. We might have time for one more. Doesn't even have to be a good one. Oh, there's somebody wrote something in the chat. So somebody broke into my house and stole all the lamps. I am delighted. It's cute. Any other questions or comments? That was all perfectly clear to all of you? Good, because it wasn't for me either, so we're in the same set. I think sometimes we have to learn to look with a different eye. I think maybe it's around here somewhere. And there's Daido Roshi, Zen Monastery that said, sometimes dharmas are dark to the mind, but radiant to the heart. And I think that's really true, because sometimes, okay, what is this? An ox named Delightful have anything to do with too late mortgage payments, cancer diagnosis, watching your spouse fade, having to have another surgery when I get home. In the middle first, got to find balance to let go sometimes. If you can do that, it's yeah. Oh, okay.
I really appreciate looking with another eye, this expression. I've heard it before, but somehow when I hear it from you, it's new. Looking with another eye. And I suggest to me that when we have a response to something at all, offense, sadness, anger, anything that arises, this looking with another eye, we can make this choice in that moment to look with this other eye and return to that. This other eye requires us to take the set of glasses that we're wearing and kind of put them off and just kind of keep peeling off the glasses. In my case, it's glasses, or keep peeling back whatever it is that we think we're seeing or feeling until there's nothing left but what's actually here. And so I really appreciate this other eye. I'm going to use it in my own experience and practice, because it reminds me, again, that we get, because we practice, we get to make this choice of using another eye in any given moment. Whenever anything arises, we have the right and the power to use another eye. So I really appreciate this. Thank you.
Yeah, and the great master Tozan said, seeing with eyes, nothing is seen, hearing with ears, nothing is heard. But seeing with ears, nothing is hidden. Sounds like a dark to the mind stuff, maybe, but I think it's radiant to our heart. I think it's really radiant. Learn to really listen, to really see what's actually going on. Not my story about what's going on, but actually see. The only way I can see is I have to let go of the thing that's keeping me from seeing. I feel like the only way that I see up and over my ego is to sit down way low.
Being star and emeritus, I live now to see them. Star, oh, I found boundless. I live now to the Buddha great sons surpassable. Well, this, Ōshin and I started in